The Bride is out in theaters, written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, starring Jessie Buckley, Christian Bale, Annette Bening, Penelope Cruz, Peter Sarsgaard, Jake Gyllenhaal, John Magaro, and Zlatko Buric. Great cast. It is basically a reimagining of the 1935 film Bride of Frankenstein, which in turn is, of course, inspired by Mary Shelley's classic book Frankenstein. The film opens with a fourth wall breaking narration from Mary Shelley herself, played by Jessie Buckley, who explains she has another story to tell from the afterlife, and she intends to do it by possessing the body of a young woman in 1930s Chicago, woman named Ida, also played by Jessie Buckley. Ida dies shortly after, which is only loosely related to the possession itself, and she is then dug up and reanimated by Frankenstein's monster, who apparently is real and living in this version of reality. And with the help of a mad scientist, he reanimates Ida into the bride, who now loses her memories of life as Ida, but keeps the partial possession by Mary Shelley, and together they go on the run from authorities after a bloody night out on town. So it's pretty fucking nuts, no matter which way you look at it. Now, the trailer sold me on the movie completely, and I was very excited for it. And I'm sad to admit it didn't live up to these expectations. It's a wild mess, a failure of a film that has some interesting elements, largely lost in an overly bloated, stylish over-substance narrative. But crucially, I think it's an interesting mess. Put it like this, I'd much rather watch movies like these that swing for the fences and fail at doing something very bold than movies that are safe and made by committee and never do anything interesting because they never try. So here's what I liked about the film. Both central performances are very good, and both Buckley and Bale look like they're having a blast making this, which makes sense because in both cases it seems like a cool acting exercise that doesn't always translate very well into an enjoyable viewing experience. I like the setting of 1930s America. I like the costumes, sets, music, makeup, prosthetics, all very good. I also like the idea of framing the main story as a combination between, Bride of Frankenstein and Bonnie and Clyde and Poor Things. But there's also a ton of other shit going on in the film that feels confused and often leads to nowhere interesting in particular. There is a really awkward feminist revolution angle that feels kind of embarrassing, honestly. There's the crime boss and policeman subplot, which again leads nowhere and doesn't add too much because of that. I think the possession angle seems like it could be very cool, but it falls sort of flat on its face because it feels largely self-indulgent. Also, I mean, when you open a movie with revisiting a classic, reviving actually a classic dead author, and you put words in their mouth to the effect of my most famous work to the side, this is going to be my masterpiece. Well, you're sort of putting yourself on the spot, and when you don't deliver a masterpiece, it looks incredibly arrogant. And I get that the Mary Shelley framing device was taken directly from the original 1935 movie. It wasn't invented for this film, but still, it does leave kind of a bad taste in my mouth when it's done with such cavalier attitude and ends up being so disappointing. I also don't think that the Jake Gyllenhaal subplot does anything. I mean, it's fine to have him as this idol for Frank, but why do these characters actually meet him in person? What was that all for? I'm not quite sure. It's also tonally confusing. Parts of the film are wacky comedy. There's a musical dance sequence in the middle of the film, and that is one of the stronger parts of it, by the way. There's some brutal mafia thriller stuff. There's the, again, terribly stiff feminist thing going on. It's like Maggie Gyllenhaal couldn't commit to one focused vision for her film and instead tried to fit 5 different things in it, which sadly proves to be too much. So I didn't like it in the end. I think it's too much everything. Too many subplots, too much style over substance, too many crazy unrestrained ideas which are not polished enough to work. It's a miss. But again, I will give it that it's an interesting miss. It tries to do something new and fresh, and that I can respect.